Hi guys, so this is a quick video to actually. So basically, I was using before Heimdall wasn't working properly, running under Docker. So basically, unless you're running like bleeding edge Docker, and if you do that, then you pretty much I was having errors on like older Docker. So basically, I tried Dashy, and because before I made my own personal one, which is the web server right here, which is web page, which is now I'm using for testing, because what I was trying to do was I had a service on, I had a VM on here that was host, and the host basically had a torrent client on there and also a web server, and it was using a lot of RAM and it was using GPU because I had to have what's that thing called? Um VMware tools installed on the host just to get the ability to add a hard drive to like there. And so I could have basically done it another way and not use the VMware tools, but I would have to add it as a secondary hard drive and it wouldn't be available, which is what I kind of did. But basically, this is using even less resources because on this Ubuntu VM, I'm running uh, Dashy for one, using the Docker container. I'm also running Apache 2, which is running as a service. I'm also have another software which is called Uptime Kuma and and a torrent client. So basically, so the only thing that starts in the background is that has to, because this is the only reason I'm running the GUI version of like Ubuntu, because I haven't tried to use it as a service using system CLI. So basically, the reason I'm running the GUI version is because Ubuntu. I mean, because of Qubit torrent doesn't you it's running with actual the GUI software to start, and I couldn't actually get my network drive to mount properly because FTab was being kind of funky with my mount, so I had to basically pass because I'm running because if this was just a network share on a regular computer, it would basically, because if there was a network share on this computer on another computer or an NAS, I could then send the data to actually to the computer itself and ftab that way. But ftabbing on the virtual machine, it wasn't picking up the drive, and so basically on the virtual machine I added my hard drive, which is a 4 terabyte hard drive, to to boot with actually the Docker VVM, and that's what I called it. And basically, that hard drive is right here, and so this has a download folder in there, and then it's connected to Qubit torrent, and from actually there, when I shut down the VM, the only time I shut down the VM is to transfer the data that is downloaded from the torrent client to the hard drive, so it'll be available to the host again, and then I just send it to another hard drive for actually source sorting, and then turn the hard drive back. And then turn the virtual machine back on, because what I could do is basically have this send as a whatchamacallit, a network share from the virtual machine back into this machine, so it's transferring through the computer, because it gets transferred from here to the hard drive here, which goes through here on this virtual machine, and I can transfer it from actually there to another hard drive on the computer, so the virtual machine can actually stay on and just continuously downloading and keep Uptime Kuma running. And then with the stuff like and the Uptime Kuma is running in Docker, so that's basically running in the background. And also is Dashi is running in the background too. And then the source file is stored in the source folder, and they both start up at startup, and this can actually run in CC in like a CLI if I wanted to, but I haven't really messed with the CLI version of qBittorrent, so I can basically pipe this hard drive through here to the computer. I mean to actual qBittorrent information there. Just have this available for the actual main storage, because I can basically mount it through CLI and have hard drive connect to it automatically and automatically connect to the hard drive. But if I were to shut down the computer, I would have to reattach it each time, which means it's not stable. And so what I basically did was just add this hard drive from the host to the virtual machine as a permanent drive, and then when I shut down a machine, I can transfer the actual data because it becomes available to the host again, and then transfer the data off and then sort it later from actual there. And for this one, which is Dashi, I changed the configuration file a little bit. This is qBittorrent, which is running on the virtual machine. This is Plex, which is running on the host, because of normally, if I wanted to have a virtual machine always available, but I didn't want to have to pass through the virtual. I didn't want to pass through the graphics card to here, just so I could use actually that, just so I could run Plex on the Ubuntu VM. So I basically ran Plex on the host, and since it's running as a service on the host, it doesn't use much extra resources. So in turn, if I were to do Uptime Kuma and also Dashi and the qBittorrent server, and also what's that thing called? Apache, because Apache and qBittorrent was actually running on the Windows VM, which uses GPU, and then what's it called? Uptime Kuma and also Dashi would have been running on a separate VM, which means it would be taking up 2 actually cores just for those 2 extra things, because Docker, because you have to give it minimum one extra core and 1 gig of RAM, or basically, you can actually give it 5 actually 12, because they're not really virtual machines. So basically, what ended up happening was if I ran that, the actual the Docker VM, and also that had Uptime Kuma and Dashi on there, that would have been 1 core, and then the host for which was the other VM that was running on Windows, had qBittorrent and also an Apache server on there. That would have been another core, so that would have been 2 gigs of RAM and 2 cores. And then the Time Machine, which is a Time Machine backup for my other computers, that one would have been 3 cores and 3 gigs of RAM, which means I would be using a lot more resources on the host. So basically, that'd be 3 gigs of RAM and three processors, which would leave me with 5 actually cores left. And I would have to give minimum 1 core for the host, which would mean I would basically be left with actually 4 cores to run other virtual machines. So this virtual machine, that would be 3 gigs RAM. I would need minimum 4 gigs RAM to total 4 for the host, and then 3 gigs just for those 3 virtual machines, and that'd be 7 gigs. I have 32 gigs RAMs in this machine, and that means I basically would have to cut some extra stuff actually down, because this virtual machine, which is gaming, it has my NVIDIA graphics card passed through on there, and the one below it, which is Time Machine, that one is always running because to back up the other computers. And then Docker will be always running instead of host because it has 1 core, 1 gig RAM. So that means I basically just cut out 2 virtual machines and put into one. So I basically am still using 1 core here, 1 core there, which will give me 2 cores. And then this one is 4 cores, and this one is 4 cores, and the gaming is 4 cores. And so 4 cores, it's four processors and 8 gigs of RAM. And so that would give me a total usage of, in total together, which would be 10 gigs of RAM and also six cores while those running, which leaves 2 left for the host and a lot of extra RAM. And then if I'm running this one, this would be 4 cores, and this will be 2 cores, which will be 8 cores still. 6 cores, and the RAM would be used here would be 18 gigs because the MacBook is using 16 gigs of RAM, and then the 2 virtual machines that will be running all the time is using 2 gigs, which will be 18 gigs. And so this machine only gets booted up for like testing purposes of newer software that I can run on my actual Macs, and also if I need access to actually a Mac outside the house, and I have like a Windows computer, or basically a friend needs access to like a Mac and they don't want to have to purchase one, I basically just give them the IP address of this virtual machine, and I send it to like them. And when I send it to like them, I actually give them the virtual machine IP address. I can then power it on, or I can basically send a wake on LAN command, because this is possible with a Mac virtual machine and not an actual Mac. But I can send a wake on LAN command with my phone to turn this on while I'm on the phone with them. And I just dropped my phone. Sorry about that. So I can send a wake on LAN command, and the wake on LAN command would basically turn this on. I could turn it on from my phone, and then they could have access to it. And when they're done, they can just shut it down. Or if I'm somewhere else and I don't feel like having I feel like having a fully spec'd computer, a Mac computer, I can basically log into here and then you use a Mac. If I need a Windows computer just for some editing stuff, and I want to use Windows for the Windows editing, I have a virtual machine for that. It also has the NVIDIA GPU passed through there. So when this one's off, this one's on, it gets full GPU support. And when this is on and this one's off, this one gets full GPU support. And the host is also Windows, but it's so cut down that it's basically just running. It's gonna be running Firefox, just for the fact that it's better than Edge, and Edge is not really something I like using right now, and I have all my Firefox browsers linked together. So Edge would basically be eliminated, which would free up resources there. And the only thing that honestly runs on the host that is running is Plex, and Plex is active when like is basically runs and as a service, so it doesn't use that much resources. But it also, when I'm doing any kind of transcoding with actually Plex, the only thing that's actually running is going to be the Docker VM, and also the Time Machine VM, which is for Time Machine backup and also running other services. For example, the Docker VM will be what handles lidar, radar, and couch potato, some other headphones and other services, and all that can run on a single core. And if I wanted to give it a little bit more, to have two actually cores, it would probably run a little bit actually better. But it only takes about 5 minutes to like start this whole actually thing because of that. Because qubittorrent isn't running as a service; it's running as an actual app, which would be easier to run as a service if I were to just handle that. But I haven't actually had a chance to. But this basically doesn't lag when using with like one core, and this doesn't lag when basically using the desktop. It would probably be actually better. I could probably get more actual speed from it if I could run qubittorrent as a service, but I haven't actually did that yet. And because of everything else is running as a service, the only thing that isn't running as a service is this hard drive that is connected to like there, and qubittorrent. Everything else is running as a service, and these are the only two reasons I'm running a GUI, because CLI is better if you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel just for one app and also just one hard drive. But if you want to reinvent the wheel for just those two apps, it would save 512 megs of RAM. So instead of using 1 gig of RAM, it will use 512, and it'll be able to run at full actually speed still with 512. So if you want to save that 512 megs RAM, which really isn't nothing, if you have a virtual machine host that has more than 32 gigs RAM or 32 gigs minimum, and so if I did something else, I'll probably update the CPU just to an i9 or an i7. The i7 would be enough just to give this virtual machine 2 cores, and then this machine two extra cores, which would be actually 4, or just leave them at 1, and then give the gaming virtual machine 6 cores, and then the Mac work for 6 cores, and the Windows work 6 cores, and so that would be 8 cores, 16 threads. And you could go a lot farther, so I could add a lot more VMs. But the reason I have so little VMs right now is because I'm using a Stream Deck to control this computer from another room. So if I need to start and stop a VM, I can literally just press a button on the Stream Deck, and then wait a little bit of time, and then it should be shut down, and then I can press again to like turn it on. I have it as a multi-action switch, so I can just turn off and on without being in here, or remote desktoping in. But if I'm remote desktop in, I could basically just look at the full preview of it being shut down or turn back on, and then press Alt F4 on the keyboard, and then start the host, and then if something crashes, or just press Alt F4 and restart the host. Let's see. I also installed minimum install of this, updated everything. And if you wanted to like do this with like a newer version, you pretty much do the same exact thing, but the latest version of Ubuntu right now is 22.10. Because this is 22.04, which is fine, for this case, since this is only hosted inside. And the only thing that is connected out to the network, outside network, is my Mac work and my Windows work, because Windows work is just for virtual machine. It's just for if someone needs a remote editing machine I have, and if someone also needs just a regular Mac computer. But the only reason I haven't basically left those on 24/7 is because I have to update the processor to maybe an i9 or i7, probably i9, just so I could have more actually cores available, and I'd have to update the CPU cooler, because CPU cooler in there, it's a Intel stock cooler. And the i9 would need something more beefier, so it doesn't thermal throttle. And I was thinking about something that uses an Intel mounting bracket, because I don't feel like taking out the actual cooler don't feel like taking out the motherboard just to take out the cooler, because that would mean I have to take out the power supply, take out the hard drives that are in there, take out the graphics card, and I would rather just take out the CPU just by turning the knobs and pulling it up and changing it, and then plugging in the fan. Yeah, so that's just part 2 of messing with virtual machines. I would think, if you guys want to see the actual it set up, how to set up these virtual machines, I can this Docker virtual machine, I can show you. I can show you how I set up this actual VM itself. Well, first, I'm just gonna say this. I gave it 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM to start, just so it would install faster, and I wouldn't be waiting for the machine. And then I can show you how to install Dashi, install Qubit torrent on here, and also install Uptime Kuma, and also Apache. And I can do that in another video. And I can make as detailed as possible. Just let me know if you want to see it. I'm gonna make it, but basically it's gonna be a long detailed video, and I'm just gonna show you how to I'm not gonna basically get all the I'm not gonna do all of the commands, but basically I'm not gonna basically say all the commands. I'm just gonna show the commands on the screen, and then just you can type them in from actually there. But yeah, that can't be done on this computer back here because there's no recording software, and also I don't feel like installing OBS on this computer, just to basically, because I would be using more resources in here just to run OBS to do the video, versus making it on the computer, on the actual working computer I have, and then moving and then doing that, because what I'm going to do is basically turn off this one, and then I'm gonna start a new virtual machine, and then show you from actually there. And the only other thing I would do is the only other thing I would do is is basically show you how to also install Pi-hole, because I didn't install Pi-hole because I didn't really need it. The only time I really needed it is on YouTube for certain apps. I mean, for certain commercials that keep showing over and over again, and that's basically the majority of the ones I see. And so some of them aren't blocked by Pi-hole or AdGuard, because YouTube thing, their API keeps changing. So basically, once you block it, it could just come back eventually, and when it does block what's it ads, sometimes the screen just goes black and there's nothing playing, but the ad gets blocked, and then it goes back to the video, so it does interrupt the video still. So that's why don't bother with. That's why I uninstalled the Pi-hole software I installed, because it wasn't really worth it just to block the couple ads that it did. And when it did block them, it literally just turned the screen black, and then it went back to the video, which interrupted the video still. But at least the ads were basically content that was playing versus just a black screen, because there was times I just had a black screen. I was wondering if something stopped working because I had it on the Fire TV. It blocked all the Fire TV ads, but basically it will refuse to load some actual times, and so it would just freeze up Hulu and stuff like that. And so I just didn't bother, and I just got rid of AdBlock on there. The other place I wanted AdBlock was my Apple TV, and the problem with there is it just blocked some ads, but it didn't block them all. And when it did block ads, it just it broke more stuff than actually helped. So I just got rid of that and I uninstalled it. But it does work as long as you can basically do it site-wide. So basically, with my modem, because of unless I put my modem into pass-through mode, and then use something like a Ubiquiti device, or basically any kind of third-party router that you can change the DNS to like a custom DNS. And because my modem doesn't have a custom DNS option, because it's a new fiber modem. So if you wanted to basically have custom DNS settings, you would have to have a custom router, or you would have to have something from Ubiquiti, or something from Merotic or Cisco, something that is either business grade, or even some of the cheaper routers, like from Asus or D-Link or TP-Link. Those ones you just have to have. You would have to you could just do it on base firmware, but the firmware for Ubiquiti and Merotic and Cisco are actually technically better than the portable, not cheap sometimes, but the cheaper than business grade routers be. And for quality wise, the three I mentioned were actually really good. But that's if you need something like a custom DNS, and that's when Ubiquiti and Merotic and Cisco have better options, because you can do traffic shaping, and also you can stop certain ads with basically Ubiquiti and the other two, but you can also block even more with basically Pi-hole. And so it would cover all ads, and it would actually work better, because of the reason why it wasn't working good on my system was because the router still handles DNS traffic, and I can't change that on the router over there. It doesn't handle DNS tracking. I mean, it doesn't allow me to do DNS with third-party software, or you can't really change it. So, and if you do, you literally break something else in the modem. I know I had tried, and I ended up basically having to restore from actual restore the router and restore my SSID. And so, and if you basically are using a third-party router, like for example the TP-Link Deco, which is the one I used, the issue with Deco was if you're using it with actual that router, all the traffic literally when you have it in IP pass-through mode, the traffic from the modem gets sent to the actual to like the router super harder, because I actually had I've had 4 different routers, 2 of them TPP links, and then two of them were TP links. Well, actually it was 5, but 3 of them were TP links, and 1 was a Netgear, and 1 was the Asus. The Asus one basically died because the CPU was getting thrashed. Same with every other one. The Netgear actually lasted the longest. And so, if you want something that would last longer, you either need a business grade, which has x86 CPUs in there, which would mean it could do the workload better, versus just the ARM ones. They're cheaper, but they don't last as long. And so, yeah, so that's why I ended up getting rid of Pi-hole, and Pi-hole literally wasn't working properly. And so, the only other things that are going on here are some other applications. I might add some icons. I'm not for sure. I might add some icons. Shiz. Sorry about that. Second time I dropped my phone. So, I'm gonna add some icons on here, and I'm also, because this is Uptime Kuma's main page, and this is the status page, which I'm using this status page right here. It's allowing me to edit the status page. So basically, when I add stuff to Uptime Kuma, I can basically then add stuff to like the Uptime Kuma status page by adding them individually, and then I basically can access them on my phone, so I can see the uptime from anywhere. And I have Discord set up, so with what Uptime Kuma does is it keeps track of uptime. And so basically, when the service that is linked to Uptime Kuma is basically down, it will send me a notification through actually Discord on a private Discord channel, and basically it will send a notification to my phone. And once it gets sent to my phone, it will give me a notification, so it will be accessible anywhere. And I tried Slack, which I didn't want really. I wanted email, but using my personal email, sorry about that. When using my email, it just didn't work properly. Because I gave it the SMP server, and it just said it just didn't have access, even though I gave it the proper password and proper email address. So you needed something else to like give it the proper address. So I just use Discord because it's easier and I can have access to it just on my phone, and I don't have to port forward anything. I don't have to mess with SMP, but you do have to add a web hooks URL. I'm not going to show you how to do actually that, because that depends on each web hooks you actually make. So thanks for watching. Hope this isn't very long. So bye.